Who's your emergency contact? Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. I'm just taking you through the course of my journey. I've been trying to put them in chronological order, but sometimes it's hard to remember everything according to how it happens throughout the course of my bid. But I'm still in Atwater. And today I'm gonna share an incident with you that we had involving one of the Muslims. I come out, it's Monday morning. No, it's Wednesday morning. No, it's gotta be Monday. It's Monday morning because the Sunday before, we was all coming back from lunch, I had snuck into 3B with my homeboy in a unit, and the white boys in that unit had made a bunch of shine. So we bought a bunch of bottles and we started drinking in the unit. But prior to us going to the unit, me and the homie Naisa from Glendale was walking on the walk, and I told him, hey man, let's go sneak into the unit and chill with the homie. They got some drink over there. But Naisa was being scary, and he's like, oh, no, because he's programming, right? He's trying to, stay out of trouble. So he doesn't show up. So he goes back to his unit. But I got all the other homies that was on our side, on the east side. When they see me going to 3B, they all followed me in there, and we ended up drinking with a couple white boys, my homeboy SP from the Bay Area, and a little black dude named Sneak from the Bay Area. And we kind of blew up the spot because, once you start drinking, you get kind of loud or whatever. Anyway, we left, went to the Buddha's meeting with the homies that we went in there and continued to party and kick it. Well, I had a lovely day. Everything was gravy, Came back home. In the morning, when they called for rec, I go out to the yard to do my regular routine to run my poker table, but I see there's a crowd of homies over there grouped up. So I go out there and I inquire what's going on. Well, the night before, whatever transpired with Scope and this other Muslim dude, the Muslim dude disrespected Scope. Call him the B word or whatever. Now, my thing is, Scope should have broke his jaw right there and then. But, Scope being his first time in the penitentiary, he was concerned that it might cause a racial war with us and the blacks. So he waited till the next morning to bring the issue up. Well, while we're grouped up over there, the Muslims on the other side of the yard grouped up. And as they called the move for my side, and then they called the move for the west side, the native bros come out, and it's like, hey, what's going on? And somebody informed them that there's an issue between Scope and one of the Muslim dude. So as every native, word got back. The natives sent word into their homies. The homies sent word back into the block. And between us and the natives, there's over 100-something of us. Like in Atwater, we have an alliance at this time with the Native Americans. And us together, we're a pretty formidable group because everybody knows in Atwater, we all go hard. Whether it's Asian Islanders, whether it's the natives. The natives, as I've repeated it on these videos, they stay in some funk, but mostly it's amongst each other. But, we have an alliance where we aid and assist. So now, half the yard along the fence, it's all native, Asian, and Islanders, all stacked up on the fence. Well, as the move continues on, a lot of blacks start funneling into the yard too, because now they see that it looks like it's gonna be a racial tension. So I look over there and I see Crips over there. I see the Midwest over there. I see Florida dudes over there and DC dudes. The Muslim, they have their own Muslim car, but at the same time, a lot of DCs are Muslims, a lot of GDs and vice lords are Muslims, because, you know, they take a lot of their laws and practices from the Quran. And by extension, they all have relationships with other groups. So now it looks like it's going to be blacks against the Asian Islanders and the natives. So when they call the West Side, the homie Eddie Sewell, he lives on the West Side. He comes over, and we're just, you know, we're just surveying the situation. But at this time, they had a homie named Silva, a Filipino dude, big old Filipino dude. I think somebody said that he was able to do like 500 push-ups straight. I mean, his chest was out to here, and he looked like he knew all that martial arts stuff or whatever. He's a good dude by every account. But this is his first time in the penitentiary too. But he was older than us, and they tapped him to be the spokesman for us on our side, and Dana was the spokesman for the homies on the West Side, because the yard is split, East Side, West Side. Like, we wrecked together during the day, but at night and on the weekend, we're split. So Scope and Silva and a couple Muslim are in the middle of the yard politicking about whatever the situation is going on. I haven't heard the whole story yet. It's not for me to come out and inquire and be like, hey, what's going on? My job is, when I come out to a situation like that, is stand by and wait for whatever the call is. You know, if they need my assistant, if they need my 2 cents, then they would come and ask for it. But as long as they have it figured out, I'm just going to stand there and aid and assist. So me and Eddie looks over there across the yard, and we see the Florida dude, DC dudes, GD dudes, you know, all the list of all these different black dudes that aren't Muslim. But a lot of them dudes we know, and we function with them. We have activities with them. We've ate together on different occasions. You know, we get along pretty much with every group on the compound. But we know this ain't nothing have to do with, this doesn't have anything to do with a racial issue. This has to do with two dudes. Somebody disrespected somebody, and we wanted to leave it at just these 2 dudes. So me and Eddie goes over there to where all the black dudes was sitting over there, and we holler at the people that we know. Who's like, hey man, what's up, man? What's going on? Oh man, they said they got beef with the Asian Islanders, this and that. I said, look, you guys know us. You guys know when something happens with us, it's never a racial thing. In our car, in the Asian Islander car, we got homies that are half black, half Hawaiian, some of them are Portuguese, which by any account is European, white, you know, but they grew up from Hawaii, so they claim Hawaiian. And we're just a gumbo pot. So we can never be on any type of racial line. If we beef with somebody, if we beef with a Crip, then we keep it as a Crip or whatever gang, whatever group that we're beefing with, we keep it isolated as that. We don't make it a racial tension. But these cowards, every time something happens, you know, they're mad enough to run their mouths, but when the shit get too hot, they want to run back and talk about, oh, this group is trying to do this group is trying to do that, or it's against all the whites, or it's against all the Mexicans, or it's against all the black. These are cowards that aren't trying to fucking be accountable for the shit that comes out of their mouths. And a lot of times, their homie saves them because they don't want their homie getting punished. Like, we don't have a no hands-on policy. I tell my homies that come through, hey, if you want to bump your gums and somebody call you out, you better go handle that shit. Don't come running over here talking about, oh, this guy did this guy did that, when you were the one over here bumping your gums. You know, I emphasize that because I want to have my homies conduct themselves a certain way where we don't get into little tit for tat, little scuffles here and there over some dumb shit. I want to emphasize to them the seriousness of our environment. Like, be respectful. But if somebody jump out there and bust them in their mouths, don't worry about what's going to happen with the rest of us. Because when the deuces go off, which is the emergency panic button, we're all supposed to stick our heads up, get our back to the wall, and survey the situation to make sure they don't have anything to do with us or any of ours. You know, that's why I emphasize in there. So anybody that has an issue with my homeboy, if my homeboy disrespects them and they feel they want to see him head up, we let him. But for the most part, all the homies in Atwater that was around us, we all conduct ourselves with respect. And the ones that don't, the ones that don't understand that, well, you heard on the last episode what happens to them. If there's somebody that feels like they're above the politics, they get a quick lesson real fast. So we holler at all the black dudes on the table that are DC, Florida, GDs, you know, these different groups that we function with on a daily basis through hustling or just chilling or playing ball or whatever. We interact with them. I've been in Atwater at this time for about 5 years. So I know most everybody who's anybody on a compound. So we holler at them and say, hey, look, homie, this ain't got nothing to do with a race thing. You guys already heard this dude disrespected the homie and they're trying to settle it out. So by us posting up like this, it's gonna look like there's a racial tension. But they're like, oh man, you guys got the natives over there with you. I said, hey, the natives and us is one car when it comes to this type of shit. But we're letting you know right now, we don't have no beef with any of you guys. We don't have no beef with the rest of them. We're just trying to deal with the situation. But if the Muslims don't handle their shit, then that's what it is. So we exchanged a couple of words and we parted. And when we left, when I turned around, I seen the DCs went about their way, the Florida dudes, you know, everybody started going about their business because they already understand that there's no reason to escalate the situation, especially over some lame motherfucker that don't know how to conduct himself. And they also know that we're serious and that we're giving them the respect by explaining to them the situation. So they had a conversation. Scope, Silva, and a couple of Muslim dudes over there on the basketball court. Well, after the conversation, they parted ways. And so I went up and asked Eddie, I said, so what's going on? Because I didn't see nobody's head get cracked. I didn't see nobody getting punished. Because there's only two things that can happen right now. Either we punish that dude, Scope punish that dude, or the Muslim's gonna punish that dude. But when they left the conversation, nothing happened. So I asked Eddie, I said, hey, what's going on with the situation? They're like, oh man, they say they're gonna discuss it. The Muslims say they're gonna discuss it at Juma to decide the dude's fate. I said, Juma's on Friday. Today's Monday, homie. That's 5 days away, 4 days away with this tension. He's like, man, look. So he told me, hey, Silva took upon himself, Scope and Silva took upon themselves to deal with the situation. And that's what they agreed to. So we got to respect that. And I respected it. But, you know, being down so long, prior history, I know when you let things fester like that, it doesn't ever work out. My mentality is, let's deal with the situation right here and there. Either you let these two dudes go head up, or we're gonna crash, or you're gonna punish. Either the Muslim dude take care of this dude right now, or he let Scope and that dude go head up, or we all crash. Because I'm not trying to walk around for the next 4 or 5 days, because if the Muslims decide that they don't want to X this dude out, that they don't want to take care of this dude, but they know if they don't take care of this dude, that we're going to do something, I don't want to give them time to sit and plot a strategy on how to take off on us. That's just my mentality. I don't ever come with a mentality that somebody's weaker than me or somebody's a coward and they're not willing to do anything. I always come with the mentality and think the way that I would think. I would always put in my head the thoughts that I would do, the things that I would do, and expect my opposition to do the same. Because if we're all gangsters, if we're all out here trying to survive this environment, then for me, I feel that there's only one way to think. And that's always to be on the offensive. Well, anyway, the reason why nothing happened that morning that I later found out because Naisa wasn't there. Naisa was in education. You know, he had class, but he didn't get the word that, you know, there was something going on in the yard. And the homie Easy from Glendale, one of their homies, you know, told Silva and them, let's not do it. They wanted to resolve the issue that morning, but they didn't because they don't want to leave the homie in education by himself. Because once it takes off, anybody that looks out the window is just going to see, oh, it's Asian Islanders and natives against blacks. So to protect themselves, and there's no fault of any black dude or any other race or anything that has ties with the people in conflict. It's just a survival strategy. If you see your homie, if I look out the window and I see my homeboys, Asian Islanders, getting into some whites or getting into with some Mexicans or getting into with some blacks, my job is to turn around and find me one of them, a white guy, a black guy, a white guy, whoever it is that they're funking with, and take off, because I'm not going to sit there and wait for them to take off on me. So anyway, nothing happened. We all went back to our routine. Well, at dinner time, me and Naisa is walking back from the unit, and I tell you, hey, what's up, man? You want to sneak in my unit? Because, you know, he missed the little drinking party that we had the day before. So I said, man, come on, I got something for you. So I invited, right after dinner, I invited him into my cell. I was showing off my new system. I had got a speaker. Somebody had taken off a speaker from the ceiling, one of those intercom speakers. So it's like this big. And I had this guy named Fish out of Washington State make me an amp. You know, they take your alarm clock and little computer pieces from different shit. I don't know how to make no amp, but he made that shit bump like it was a trunk. And I had that shit in my locker. So I invited Naisa in. We rolled up a little blunt. I mean, it's a blunt to us, but it's probably the size of a toothpick. You know, in there, your system is so clean. You know, you can put a grain of salt, a line of salt, a thin grain, like pieces back to back, and that shit will get you high. So we rolled up a little joint, and we kicked back, listened to my new system, and we smoked. Well, at 6:30, they have the yard move. 6 o'clock, 6:30, they have a yard move. But today, in the evening, the yards are split, east side and west side. So we have indoor rec first. And then at 7 o'clock, we can go outside. So when they call the move, Nice like, hey, I'm gonna go indoor rec. I said, man, we just wait. We just go out to the yard at 7. We just kick it. He goes, nah, the homie's got the band room. Like the homie Cap, Easy, and a couple other homies, they all play the drums and the guitar, and they have a little band room that they get to go in and have a certain day of the week to practice and then jam out. So Naisa wanted to go watch them jam out in the indoor rec. So he left, and that was that. You know, at about 7 o'clock, I'm on the phone with my wife. I'm on the phone, you know, it's my everyday routine. I call my wife in the morning when I first wake up, and I call her in the evening before we lock back down. And I'm calling her about 7 o'clock because, you know, like at 8:30, it's recall, and there's gonna be a rush of people coming in, trying to get on the phone and all that. So I try to get on the phone as soon as I can and talk to my wife to finish out my night. So while I'm on the phone with her, they call the move to come for rec. You know, now you can go out to rec to outside yard, or you can come back in the unit from indoor rec, because they're switching up and letting the west side go to have indoor rec. So as I'm on the phone, a guy comes in, Mexican dude comes in, Paisa. He said, hey, Mesa, your homeboy outside. And I'm like, hey, babe, I think there's something going on with my homie out there. But I stay on the phone because it just didn't sound urgent. And then another Paisa come in, group of them, they come, hey, Mesa, your homeboy outside right now. Your homeboy's outside right now. I was like, shit. I said, hey, babe, I got to go. So I hung up the phone, ran to the door. When I was running to the door, my cell, he sent me. He's a big old fat Tongan. What's up, Sammy? Anyway, he's got the slider. He's holding the slider because they're trying to close the slider on us. So he got the slider like this, holding the slider. So when I run to the door, I kick him through the slider and jump out the door. And I'm jumping and I'm looking, I'm expecting to see a big old rumble going on, you know, for whatever reason. Like whatever happened this morning already slipped my mind, or I already forgot about that already. But I don't know what's going on right now. So I jump out there and I'm ready to get in the funk, but there was no funk. The homies to my left and they're all kneeling down, and I look to my right and all I see is cops, COs with shotguns and fucking cannon mace out, and they're telling me, get on the ground, get on the ground. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting on no fucking ground because I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to lay down and have these dudes rush me and beat the shit out of me. You know, if I'm going to get beat up, I want to be on my feet. So they're like, get down, get down. The gun powers got their gun out. Like still, I have no clue what's going on. And then the homie Cat and Bryce, they were kneeling down. They were like, hey, just kneel down, just kneel down. So I kneel down. They come and they cuff all of us up. And they take us all to rec. So when we get back to rec, they put us back in the rec cage. And this is where I find out what had happened. So Naisa went back over there to watch the homie play the drums in the music band, you know, in the music room. But while he was sitting out there, that Muslim dude was out there too, was in the indoor rec. And this is from Naisa. He said, yeah, man, that dude just kept looking at me, and I think he called me a bitch. But me personally, I just think that Naisa felt bad about not being there this morning, being in education instead of being outside. And then also, he tried to tell Bryson that it was my fault because I got him high, and he started hearing shit, and he heard the dude say that, you know, that he was calling him a bitch or whatever. So Naisa went over there and knocked him out. Knocked him off the table, knocked him out, and started stomping on his head. So when that happened, all the homies came out of the band room, and there was Crips and Bloods over there, and the homies like, man, what's up? Because this dude's he's a black dude. So our expectation is that all the blacks is gonna jump and aid and assist him. But like I said again, we have rapport with these Crips, with these Bloods, with all these other different people. And the compound already know the situation already. So so the Crips and the Bloods that was in there was like, nah, homie, we ain't got nothing to do with that. So the homie stomped him out, stomped the Muslim out. That's when they hit the deuces. They came and gaffled Naisa up and took him into the shoe. Well, after they cleaned up the situation, the next move is a 7 o'clock move. And Bryson and the homies, they're out. When they call that move, they come out to the yard. Because, you know, they're hanging out on the yard while the homies got the band room. So when they come out, Easy and Scope and some of the homies in the room, they came out and they were like, and Bryce's like, what's going on, bro? He goes, oh, bro, it's on, bro. It's the Muslim, bro. It's on. So Bryson came out the yard and the homie came out to rec, and they all came together, and they're about 20 deep. Them, a few natives, the homie Jay, you know, they had about 20 homies. And Bryson's objective was like, hey, let's go get into a unit and go mop them up. But the COs, they already seen the confrontation, or they already just had cleaned up the confrontation, and they see that the homies grouped up. So the COs came out and surrounded Bryson and all of them. But Bryson kept walking, and the CO was like, hey, stop, Mr. Jose, stop. When you see Bryson, he's a very opposing figure. He's huge. And everybody knows he's strong as an ox, quick as lightning. They don't even understand how he can move that fast and that quick and that powerful in the body that he has. Well, let's just say for about 2 blocks, literally from the rec all the way to my unit. I live in 2A. So from the rec, you got to walk down a long corridor. Then there's a gate. Then you turn in to, there's a long strip where it goes into all the different units. So he tries to go in 3A. When he tries to go in 3A, him and the homies try to go in 3A, the COs told him, hey, you guys don't belong here, and called for the sliders to close. So when they close the slider on them, he turns around and tries to go in 3B. And again, the CO's in front and they had the sliders closed on him. Now they're surrounded by 5 or 6 COs. And now all the other COs are running over there with shotguns and bean bags and their canisters of OC. But they all got it out, but none of them wants to spray Bryce. Listen, in my experience, when a CO runs up on me and try to tell me to go down and I don't go down, man, they're spraying the shit out of me. They're spraying the shit out of me. They're tackling me. They're body slamming me, hog tying me, whatever. But with Bryce, as he's walking, all the COs just kept backing up. Stop, Mr. Jose. Stop, Mr. Jose. Because none of them, they already know whoever the first one to spray him is going to be the first one to get knocked out. And they've seen videos of him, you know, the COs, they have access to the computer. So everything that happens in the BOP, it gets logged in or whatever, where they can go in and check it. And they've heard about this guy. And they do not want to be the first one to get knocked out. So by the time they get into my unit, 2A, they're already surrounded. And my dumbass jump out there, thinking there's something going on with the homie, and end up getting myself locked up in the shoe too. But see, there was 2 things to this story where the next day they let me out. They let everybody out but Bryson and Naisa. You know, they were afraid of Bryson, so they kept him in the shoe. So when I came out, Dana was kind of in his feelings, like, man, what the fuck you letting the homies do this, the homie do that? I said, man, what are you talking about? Man, we gave them their word that we weren't going to do nothing to them. I said, okay, yeah, we gave them their word. I don't got no control of what my homie did, but it's done already. Why are we sitting over here crying over spilled milk? That shit's done already. So whatever they want to do now, just get it. Like, man, that makes us look bad. We gave them their word that we weren't going to do anything about the city and let them deal with it. Again, yeah, that's what we were supposed to do. That was supposed to have been the honorable thing. But the homie fucked up. Well, he's done. Now it's done already. So however they want to feel about it now, then that's what it needs. You know, that's what we need to deal with. Don't do us any good crying about what happened the night before. You know, so me and Dana, we almost got into it over, because he just kept emphasizing about, now, he's not wrong. But my perspective is just, the shit's done. You know, we didn't have no control. We didn't know that the homie was going to do that. And he did that. But now, by him doing that, it might cause a racial war. But he's locked up. The dude he beat up is locked up. So now all the blacks on the compound are coming together because they think, because we violated, because we told them that, hey, we're going to let the Muslim handle this. But at the same time, I point out, man, when there's an issue on this, something like this, the Muslims should never allow any liberty to wait till Friday, 4 or 5 days later, to decide, to make a decision on something that's pressing. So when we came together and had that engagement and had that conversation, that's what I emphasized too. Not that I can't never admit that I'm wrong, that we fucked up. All that shit is too late. All we're telling them now is, hey, you guys fucked up, we fucked up, so what do you want to do? Because you guys fucked up by not dealing with your situation when you were supposed to. And we fucked up because the homie took off on dude without our consent. But now it's all out in the open. The shit's done. What do you guys want to do? And at the end of the day, cool heads prevail. We came and have a conversation and we let the situation ride out the way it did because they were both locked up in the shoe already and we all went about our business. Welcome to the USP.